So this is actually, I wanted to say something before we start looking at this sheet about the 8 worldly concerns. I had an interesting conversation with some of the monks today, in particular Most Venerable Bin Li at lunch. And he asked me, you know, whenever I had the opportunity in the future to mention what we talked about. So I thought I would take the opportunity now. I don't remember how we got on the subject, but at lunch today we were talking about how when people were escaping from Vietnam as refugees and they would go to the refugee camps in the Philippines and elsewhere, there were Western, probably largely Western aid workers who would go in and say, oh, well, you can't go to America, you can't go to Australia unless you convert and become Christian. Have you heard stories like this? No? Even, I guess at the camp that Most Venerable Bin Li was at, that happened, and he was really confused about that.
What years?
I don't know. I don't know what years we're talking about. This is back in the 70s.
I think 79 and 80, 78, 80, 79, 80, because I live in Hong Kong camp.
And you heard that?
At that time, yeah. Someday, I don't know, they announced this year, you can go to America, something happened, and you have to have the people sponsor. Family sponsor.
Oh, okay. So the issue was family sponsorship, yeah. 78, 89, 78, 79, 80.
Yeah,
okay, and so, yeah. But then I mentioned how, you know, we have a number of people in the chaplaincy program at U.S. who are either in the military or going into the military. And I said that one of them mentioned how when American service members, when they're signing up to join the Army, the Navy, the Air Force or whatever, in their paperwork, there's a code, like a number, that corresponds to their religion. So Christian, whatever, and there's one for no religion. Well, apparently there are a number of people who've gone in to sign up for the military who were Buddhist, and they were told there's no code for Buddhists.
No code of,
which isn't true. Yeah. There is a code for Buddhists. And so there are Buddhists in the military. So the military thinks there are only about 6,000 Buddhists in the military, the American military. But there are apparently some number of Buddhists running around in the military who actually, on their paperwork, it says no religion. Because they were told when they went to fill out the paperwork, and I think this was sometimes civilian volunteers who are helping with this, and I think they fill this part of the paperwork out after they've signed up when they go to the base or something like that. I'm not sure of the details. But apparently they're told, no, you can't sign up, you can't put Buddhist to be in the American military, which isn't true. And then he told me about a situation where recently a couple of little girls, Vietnamese girls, I don't know if they were born here or born in Vietnam, but at their public school, their teacher told them, God is up here and Buddha is down here. Like God is great and Buddha is nothing. Their teacher at a public school. Now, if it happened in a classroom, it's bad enough if it happened like in the hallway or at lunch or something, but if it happened in the classroom, from my understanding, that's illegal. Teachers in public schools cannot push their religion on their students. And then I said, and so we're trading stories back and forth. Well, I had a friend, I think I've mentioned him before. He's an American monk in the Tibetan tradition, and he was in Mongolia off and on over the course of a few years, helping to revive Buddhism in Mongolia. And he ran into Christian missionaries there who were apparently telling the Mongolian people, your country, the economy in your country is a mess because of Buddhism. So if you convert to Christianity, then everything will be wonderful. So both of us, several of us, my friends at school, my Buddhist friends at school, we've run into things like this again and again and again. And I said, I don't understand why people think it's okay to lie and manipulate or take advantage of refugees in a desperate situation in order to gain converts. They're acting against their own supposed religious beliefs. So I would encourage you, if you ever run into something like this or hear something like this, stand up and say it's wrong. This is wrong. I don't mean to pick on Christians because I'm sure there are people in other religions who do it. There may even be instances where Buddhists of one sect tell Buddhists of another sect, you know, oh, well, I won't help you unless you join my faith or something. That may happen. I've never heard of a case like that. but it may happen. So we don't want to just pick on Christians. But if you ever hear of this happening, stand up and say that it's wrong. Because otherwise, then it filters down, say, among people wanting to join the military. Even other Buddhist service members might not know that there is a code for Buddhism. And they might tell their friends who want to join, oh, but you can't say that you're Buddhist when you join the military. So mistakes get perpetuated that way too. So stand up and speak out about it. So Most Venerable Vinley asked me to mention that to you today.
Can I share my experience?
Yes. Well, actually, maybe can we wait until the question and answer period? Why don't we do that and you'll go first? Okay, thank you. So let's take a look at the outline today. It's not really an outline, it's just some notes that I made on the 8 worldly concerns. So, pleasure and suffering, praise and blame, fame and obscurity or disgrace. I've seen this explained either way. Obscurity is the opposite of fame, but disgrace, you can also be famous, but negatively famous, right? That'd be more what disgrace is. And then gain and loss. So these are the 8 worldly concerns. These 8 things that we waste our time on and that lead us to all kinds of suffering. So pleasure and suffering, this is maybe not the best way to word it actually. I thought about this later after I typed this up. I've seen different versions of this. Some say getting what we want and getting what we don't want. But really when we think about it, when we look at when I think about the teachings that I've received on this, pleasure and suffering, we're really talking about chasing after or being preoccupied with getting pleasurable circumstances, good circumstances, sensory pleasures, pleasant smells, pleasant tastes, a cushy job. We don't have to work a whole lot, but we get paid a whole lot or something. This is what we're talking about in this case. So pleasurable circumstances, okay, pleasurable experiences and circumstances. And so then suffering here isn't just suffering, it's we're trying to avoid, or we have to experience or being concerned about having to experience unpleasant things. Bad smells, bad tastes, boring, frustrating, painful experiences. So that's what we're talking about here. And then praise and blame, this is pretty clear. We like it when people say we're wonderful. But when somebody points a finger and says, there's a problem and it's your fault, what do? We go, no, it's not me, but you need to understand that person over there didn't do that, and so it's not my fault. So praise and blame. So we're preoccupied with getting praise and preoccupied with avoiding blame. And then there's fame. There are some people who are preoccupied with wanting to be known. Maybe not known like President Obama is famous, maybe not that kind of fame, but wanting to be known. Some people, they do really good things, but then they're like, did you see that good thing that I did? Right? Look at me, I'm so generous. So there's this sort of lower grade of fame, wanting to be known among the people around you. Okay? So this is also, or then the opposite side of this, and again I've seen 2 things. Obscurity, which is the opposite of being known. It's being unknown. It's the person who you see all the time, but nobody knows their name. Not wanting that. That's one way I've seen this explained. The other way, and it's because there are different translations of this, partly. But the other way is not wanting disgrace. So again, disgrace, you can be famous, but for something negative. This is what often happens in our culture too, isn't it? Somebody gets famous, everyone says, wow, they're great, they're talented, and then there's a rumor. Oh, they cheated on their wife or their husband, or they stole somebody's music in order to get famous or something. And then the tabloid papers and magazines, they jump all over it. The cameras are everywhere, they're chasing them around. And then that person who wanted to be famous, rich and famous, suddenly they want everyone to leave them alone. So we spend a whole lot of time wanting to be known and not wanting to be known for positive things and not wanting to be known for negative things, or even just not wanting to be unknown. And then the last is gain and loss. This is really more about material things. So the first one was about sort of circumstances and experiences. This last one is about material things. We want to accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. There's this joke that people say, you know, the person with the most stuff when you die, the person with the most wins. The person with the most money, the most stuff wins. Well, you can't take any of that with you. Right? Of course, we need to have enough. We need to have enough to put a roof over our heads and food on the table. You know, we need enough. But then people also joke about shopping therapy. Have you ever heard this phrase? You're feeling kind of in the blues, you know, work's not going so well. I'll go buy some stuff. That'll make me feel fantastic. And it actually kind of does. I think there's been some studies about when people like accumulate, something about the brain chemistry changes, and you do get this kind of pleasure from it, but it's temporary. It's temporary. Just like with good experiences, just like with praise, just like with fame, it's temporary. And then there's loss. Okay, so once we get all this stuff, we have to protect it. If somebody breaks into your house and they steal your CD collection, you know, some people might get angry about that. How dare they? Those animals. You can easily replace it though, right? It'll take a while, but nobody got hurt, hopefully, right? You know, these kinds of things happen. And we get really angry. When I was a kid, I used to ride my bicycle to the swimming pool, and it was like, I don't know, 25 cents to go to the public swimming school, or 50 cents or something. And then they opened up a water slide next door. But the water slide area didn't have little, what do you call them? Lockers to put your things in, your shoes or whatever. They had just these sort of open wooden shelves, these little boxes along the wall outside. So I put my shoes in there, and I went and played on the water slide and everything. I didn't want to spend the money. I had some extra money. I didn't want to spend the 25 cents for the locker. I wanted to buy candy too. You'd slide for a while, and then you'd buy candy, and then you'd go slide some more. Well, when it was, you know, time to go home, I went back to the little cubbyhole thing, and my shoes were missing. And they were brand new. And then I had to ride my bicycle home with my bare feet. And you know, bicycle pedals, they have, the metal ones, they have those little spikes on them. That was painful. I was so mad. I was probably, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. But they were just a pair of shoes. I had other shoes at home. But those were my things. How dare someone take them? We waste all kinds of energy getting upset about loss and trying to avoid it. We're concerned with not losing stuff, but we can't take it with us. And most of what we have, if we really think about it, it's useful, but we don't need it. So what's the use in getting all worked up about losing it? Now watch, tomorrow I'll lose something and I'll get really upset. Do what I say, not what I do. Right? No, I do my best. So these are the 8 worldly concerns. And so this is really about attachment and aversion. We're constantly grasping at things, temporary things for pleasure, and trying to avoid situations and things that we don't want. Now, in a sense, this is natural. As physical beings, we touch something hot and we pull our hand away from it. We're trying to avoid physical pain and harm.